Love it.
Welcome to, welcome to the Be a Pro series. I'm Jimmy Farris, and I told you guys when we started this that I was going to bring on heavy hitters, people who are ultra high performers across many different industries, and I've got one of those guys today. I don't want to spend too much time introducing him. He has a list that's about 3 pages long of accomplishments, achievements. He's got a resume that would impress almost anyone. So I just want to introduce him. His name is Isaac Stegman. He is the owner and founder of Kaizen Coaching. And currently, the most recent current iteration of Isaac's career is coaching ultra high performers across many industries. He's built out an amazing coaching platform with Kaizen Coaching. He is the guy that has coached me. I wouldn't be here without him. This series, Be a Pro, live stream, and the entire platform of Be a Pro would not be here without Isaac Stegman. So, without further introduction, I will introduce Isaac Stegman. Isaac, what's up, brother?
Thanks, man. I'm just starstruck. I'm going to try not to fangirl too much here. On live with Jimmy the Freight Train Farris. Um, that's what they used to call you, right? Because you just run people over and no
Yeah,
mercy. Yeah.
no, they used to call me White Lightning because I just ran past people. So that's a little more apt. I was more of a speed guy than I was just a brute force truck people type guy.
Yep.
So, but man, it's awesome to have you on, bro. We got a ton of things that we can talk about. If you want to spend a little bit of time just talking about kind of your journey, that ultimately led you to form Kaizen Coaching, what exactly you do within that, and then I'd like to get into kind of how we found each other and how we connected and how that evolved into what we're doing now.
Sweet. I'll try to do like the highlight reel pretty quick here. So out of high school, I went to college, community college. It was all, I was paying my own way, was working 3 jobs, try to pay for community college. Ended up getting laid off of basically everything at Christmas time because they were all seasonal, and finding a job in the newspaper, working for Cutco Knives, Vector Marketing, and did really well there. Was still, I think, one of the top salespeople of all time, became a manager, and started recruiting a lot of people and training them. And then I decided to go in the military. So I went in with a special forces contract, ended up breaking my foot in airborne school, and things pivoted a little bit there. Ended up at the 82nd Airborne. And after the 82nd Airborne, got out, ran a Taekwondo school with the guy who used to train the US Olympic team. I went and I was a professional firefighter. I went in the Air Force and was a firefighter in the Air Force Reserves for a while. Ran a district office and a territory for Vector at that time too, and then moved back and became a full-time firefighter. Did that for a few years until I got pretty significant injury at a fire and got medically retired by the state. And said, you can't do that anymore. So joined up with a couple of guys, built a real estate technology company, and then ran a real estate team with my best friend Jeff. And that got us into coaching. So that's the white lightning version of the track record of a lot of years of doing different things. And always seemed to be laying on my feet, be really successful with what I did. Definitely a lot of pivots in there. Didn't expect, breaking your foot in airborne school, not doing special forces stuff. Didn't expect getting hurt at a fire. Didn't expect, different things that happen along the way. But it's interesting where it's gotten to at this point, and that none of what's happening now, which is like the most fun I've ever had and the coolest thing that I can imagine doing, none of that would have happened if that series of events would not have unfolded. So yeah. And then I met this guy, Jimmy Farris. Just at the beginning of this year, we were doing a high level mastermind at a ski resort down here in Utah, and had a good friend, Mike Smith, who was involved in the company at that point, and said, man, you just got to meet this guy. He's going to be in town. I know we don't have a spot for him right now, but you got to meet him. Let's just, can I get Jimmy up here for the day? And so you and I talked briefly, and the rest is going to be history, or already is. I don't know.
Yeah. We're making history as we go, literally as we speak. We're making history here. And I think there's a couple things that are really important about what you just said right now, specifically with kind of the chaos and the uncertainty that's going on in the world. There's a lot of people, as I've been talking about here on multiple episodes on the Be a Pro series, there's so many people right now that are looking to, possibly transition, whether it's by choice or whether they're, basically being forced to look for a new career. And that's something that you've done both by choice and, um, basically put in a situation where you had to make a change, you had to make a move. What would be your advice right now to people that are in that position where they're either okay, but they feel like this is an opportune time to make a move and kind of finally step out and go for something that they've been wanting to do for a while, or they're in a position where they have to make a choice and do something different to ultimately, try to put food on the table, keep the lights on, try to maintain some sense of certainty and stability throughout the next 6 months, maybe a year of this COVID crisis and pandemic.
Sure. Well, first I would say that as soon as it's a mindset thing, as soon as we see it as I'm stuck or I'm forced to make a change, we automatically are going to limit a lot of our options because we're seeing it from a scarcity mentality, and we're not going to be as open to expansive opportunity and some really creative solutions. I'm kind of wired that way. So for me, one thing happened and I'm like, all right, cool. What are my options now? And I would just pivot and go. And so, it's something that I was just brought up with or was innate in me and that I've cultivated over time because I feel like it's one of the biggest strengths you can have is to be highly adaptable, and not really locked in on anything where it's like I have no other choice. And that's a difference between being committed and focused. Being committed and focused is in the moment, where that interplays with being adaptable is you have to be able to stay in the moment, stay locked in, stay focused. And when you get to that point of having to make a change or looking at opportunities, to be able to step back out of that for a second, observe what's going on really objectively, and then make a decision. And then you get back into focus mode. So it's that interplay between the focus and then stepping back and looking at the big picture when necessary that really makes the magic work there.
Yeah, I think again, like you said, it's that mindset where, the optimist sees kind of the opportunity in every challenge, right? I mean, you get
Mhm.
faced with things that can appear to be a crisis, almost big challenge. And if you have that right mindset, you're going to think we've talked about that at length, you and I together in private. That's something that we talk about with a lot of our coaching clients and a lot of people that we work with. It's such a mindset thing. That's really kind of what that be a pro mindset is all about. That amateur mindset versus the pro mindset. Exactly. We're both repping it. My camera's a little lower than yours, but that be a pro mindset that's looking for an opportunity where we can show up and make the best out of any situation and show up as our best self and continue to be our best self. And I think that's something that you really taught me. That was, our first interaction when we met there in Salt Lake. It was really kind of like, hey man, what do you want to do? You asked me some of those tough questions. I had been working for years on these ideas and these concepts and, trying to package up some of my programs. And I had speeches and programs and training courses and all these different things. And, you ultimately just said to me, dude, what do you want to do? What do you think the area you could go into and be your best self and make the most impact and, be of service to people? And that's really how we kind of came upon this Be a Pro platform. And I think to me, it was just another lesson, one of those things that really solidified that idea that when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're putting in the work in private, then the universe will, as I said, kind of on the last broadcast, really conspire to make those things happen, bring the right people into your life and open those right doors. But it really takes you stepping out first, stating your intentions and saying, this is something that I want to do. This is an area where I want to be of service, and things really just kind of happen, doors open and people come into your life.
Well, and that's the secret sauce is you were already preparing, but you
Yep.
didn't know what it was going to be yet
Right.
or when it was going to happen. And so, one advantage that I had was I got kind of trained or indoctrinated early on personal growth and development. Like you got to just be pouring into you and being a better version of yourself because you never know. Like the worst thing in the world is to get your dream opportunity and not be ready.
Right.
Right. And so being prepared, even when we don't know what the opportunity is going to be, looks like consistently focusing on evolving our mindset, evolving our skill sets, evolving the disciplines, and doing the right things consistently so that we are prepared for as many opportunities as possible that are going to really shift and pivot and move us in a great direction, so yeah.
Well, it's that idea. We've said it before, what we used to say in the locker room all the time: you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And again, sometimes you don't know exactly what it is that you're preparing for, or what you're staying ready for, what you're getting ready for, but you always want to be operating at, at a certain level where when an opportunity arises, you can rise up to meet that challenge. I mean, again, that's what this whole platform is about, is consistently being your best to put yourself in position to take advantage of those opportunities that come your way.
100%.
Yeah, I think you and I, one of the things that's so great about our partnership, our personal relationship, our business relationship, is I just posted something on Instagram this morning about, the circle of people that you keep around you. Are they challenging you to grow, inspiring you to grow? And you and I definitely do that for each other. And it's so important to keep a circle around you, whether it be your close personal relationships, business relationships, of people that can continue to push you and challenge you to grow and be that best version of yourself. I know at times when I was in pro sports, when I was in the locker room with Pro Bowlers and future Hall of Famers, it was easy to consistently bring my best. But then you step out of that and, as things kind of happen, you start to isolate a little bit. You're not around as many high performers, as many people with big goals, big dreams, big ideas. And it's easy to get complacent and stop doing the things that you did that got you there. Stop being a pro. Stop doing all of the things that are necessary to stay prepared and to be ready to go. And so, again, I think it's really important, especially right now, for people to understand that you can make it so much easier to get some of the outcomes that you want, to achieve some of those goals or do some of those things, just by putting yourself around or keeping yourself around high performers and people that will challenge you and inspire you to learn, grow, and be better.
Yeah, 100%. And that's something I didn't mention before, but being prepared is not just about inside of you. It's about curating and cultivating the right environment for success. And that's who you are as a person, but it's also what physical things you have around you. Are you creating, like, if you want to work out on a regular basis, are you creating a physical environment that's conducive to that? If you want to eat healthier, I mean, you've done a great job. Like, dude, you're looking sharp lately, dropped like 20 pounds, I think, since I saw you. There you go. Yeah.
Being a pro, baby. I gotta be a pro. If I'm gonna coach people how to be a pro, I gotta be a pro. Yep. I gotta live that. I have to be authentic in that. And that's where I'm at right now.
Well, and it's just about saying, okay, well, my environment then to be conducive there is I'll meal prep, or I won't have these things sitting around like in front of me. I'm like, I'll just grab a few of those M&Ms or whatever. But it's also about the relationships that you have. It's about the relationships you have in your business. It's about the relationships you have in your personal life. Are they conspiring to move you forward and like set you up for the right opportunities and create, the perfect garden of like, this is the soil that will take root in. So people are the biggest thing. That's the greatest game changer. I know super successful people that at the time they became successful, they were living in a small apartment. It's like, oh, I don't have a big house with a nice gym in it and all this other stuff, so I don't know that I can get there. No, it's about the people first and who they help you be.
Exactly.
Right. You can live in a tiny apartment shared with 4 people and drive a 22-year-old car that's not a classic, and all these things. And the number one thing that's the most important is, what network do you have that you're plugging into that's raising the bar for you personally, and who is that helping you create from yourself?
Yes. Yep. It's
that's
so
free.
important.
I mean,
and again, these are consistent themes that you'll hear us talk about. I say this all the time: the idea that no one succeeds alone. that idea that all of us, if we look back on our history or our journey to get to wherever we're at and whatever successes that we've had, there's going to be multiple people along the way that assisted us in some way. They introduced us to the person that ultimately went into business with us that made it all happen, or they stood up for us or made sacrifices for us or invested in us at the appropriate time when we needed it the most. That is such a crucial piece. And again, it goes back to that idea of who you surround yourself with, right? It's that idea of being able to surround yourself with greatness and then copy genius. These are people that have made all the mistakes on their way to the top, and you can learn from them, avoid some of those mistakes. You know, Tony Robbins always talks about it in terms of, you know, turning decades into days, where you can download this information from high performers, successful people, and avoid all those mistakes that they've made, and really have these people take on a mentorship role. And again, that was for me in my journey in pro sports, making it to the NFL. You know, you've heard the story. Some of you guys have heard that story of my first couple of days with the 49ers. If it wasn't for a coach, George Stewart, and then, you know, Terrell Owens kind of taking me on and him becoming my mentor, maybe I don't have a career. Maybe I don't ever play any years in the NFL. I certainly don't win a Super Bowl and do all those kind of things. And we're not here now talking about being a pro and trying to live our next passion and purpose, you know, inspiring people just to be better, to be the best version of themselves. So I think that's of huge, huge importance. Guys, anybody tuned in, I want to remind you, I've got Casey in the chat box. And Casey, if she hasn't introduced herself already, she will. I'm sure she has. Send those questions in. They will send them directly to me here, and we can get any questions that you guys have answered. I want you to use Isaac is an amazing resource when it comes to questions that you might have, getting those questions answered, entrepreneurship, business ownership, small business. And I kind of want to go into that right now, Isaac. You know, we've talked again at length about the current conditions, the current climate, the economic climate, the chaos in the world. And I know there's a lot of business owners that talk to you on a regular basis, kind of asking you, hey man, what do we need to be thinking about here? What can we do to be a little bit more prepared for what may be coming? What are some of the pivots or transitions that we can make right now to set ourselves up for success? What do you think are 2 or 3 of the most important things for business owners and businesses to do right now that are facing real uncertainty and chaos in the market and in the world in general?
I mean, you told me this was going to be live truth or dare on Facebook, so I wasn't really ready for any questions like that, but we'll roll with it, man. That can be fun too. So as business owners right now, one is understanding that things have changed and things will continue to change and evolve. And that's not new. You know, they've changed more rapidly. They've changed in a very significant, very public facing, very categorical way. Like it's just everything has changed for a lot of people. But that's not new. There's been change and innovation that's been going on forever. And it will only get faster and faster and faster as exponential disruption happens. And, you know, as technology catches up with some things. So get comfortable with change and just don't let that make you freeze up or stick your head in the sand. Like that is going to be the new environment. Is things are going to be changing. You just gotta tread water and look at the environment and make decisions based on what you see now and what you see possibly coming, and then also be adaptable and be flexible. I think from a mindset standpoint, it's important that people understand no matter what, like when change happens, that's when the most money is made. That's when the most opportunity is created. That is when things come out of the blue that you'd never even thought for yourself or for your business. So you don't have to like shut down your business necessarily and do something else. You could adapt your business to something else as long as you're creative enough and resourceful enough to do those things. And that's something I look for with everyone that I partner with or hire, is those traits of creativity and resourcefulness and being proactive. I mean, those are just really, really great things to cultivate in yourself and practice doing. So in any industry, even if you're kind of like, okay, I'm in real estate, I'm in mortgage, those are 2 industries that I spend a lot of time coaching in. there's going to be like, okay, these people drop off and these people drop off a little bit. These people go off the cliff and just go away. These people drop off some, these people go kind of tread water and maintain and survive. And there's always, always, always that 1 to 5% that just takes off.
Yep.
And so what I want to just put out there for anyone who's watching is, why not you? Like, why don't you choose to be one of those ones? And I know it's not as simple as just making the choice, and it really is. It starts there. It starts with saying, I'm not going to be one of the ones that goes off the cliff. I'm not going to be one of the ones that just kind of survives or treads water or maintains. What if for myself, I live into that truth, that reality of, I'm gonna take this thing and I'm gonna make my business better through this. When I was a firefighter, we used to do stress testing of the equipment. So we would have extreme situations of load on a ladder or water through a hose or whatever. And that's where you found out your biggest weaknesses. That's where you found out if something was going to fail you in an actual live situation. And you want to consistently do that. And so times like this are almost like this automatic mandatory stress test for businesses. Is we're just going to throw a bunch of stuff at you, and you're either going to just put your head down like this and try not to get hit, or you're going to dodge it, but you're going to observe what's happening and you're going to take note, and then you're going to make those things better.
Yes.
So whenever a big change happens for a business or an industry or even an individual, the value in that is the lesson that comes with it. And the lesson that comes with it very often is, what did that stress test reveal or highlight for you? Because the weak link is not necessarily, it's not the strong link. I think, you say this, it's not the strongest link in the chain. That's the most important one's the weak one, because that's the one that's going to fail every time. So the recognition of that, and then the change that we can make to our environment, to our business, to ourself, understanding what the weak link is, just makes us better and stronger and more capable going forward, if we take advantage of the opportunity.
Yes.
The other side of it is we could always just complain and, woe is me, and give up or whatever. That doesn't serve anyone, right? And there will still be people always who do that, and
sure,
to each their own. That's their right. That's their privilege to do. And if you're watching this, it's probably because you see yourself as different. You see yourself as exceptional. You see yourself as aspiring to be exceptional. And so I will tell you that 100% for you, there is that opportunity to come out the other side of any change better than when you went in.
Well, it's interesting, because I remember hearing Kobe Bryant in an interview, and the guy, the host of the podcast, asked him, how does it feel losing? Do you just hate losing? What does that, make you feel like? And he said, I love losing. And the host was kind of surprised. He said, why is that? He said, because losing gives you an opportunity to evaluate what went wrong and see where those holes are, see where that weak link was. Because like you said, until the chain gets tested, you don't know which link is the weak link. And ultimately, that is the most important link. That's one of the things that I talked about that very first time that we met in Utah, was kind of that idea of, you want to focus on you and be the very best you can be, so that you're not the weak link, so that if they do have to call on you and you do have to step up, that you can perform at a level that's on par, on average, with everybody else, so that you're not the weak link. I think that's a huge piece, but you can only find that out, like you said, during the stressful time. You don't know if your backup quarterback's any good until the starter goes down and he's got to go play. So
and you end up with a Tom Brady, right?
And you end up with a Tom Brady. Yes. One of my good says that hard times build character and pressure makes diamonds. And every once in a while, you get a chain that's really tested, and one of those links turns out to be a diamond. So I think that's just important. I wanted to really get your take on that, because I get a lot of questions about that, a lot of messages in my inbox, just a lot of people that are asking, how do we deal with transition? How do we deal with change? What's the direction that my business should be going amidst all this chaos? And so I think that was really valuable, what you said.
Yeah, it's a completely different experience putting your head down in the sand and just, or just dodging with your face covered, it's much more stressful than if you're, like in the Matrix, when he finally figures out he can dodge bullets. It's not like, oh crap anymore. It's just like, right?
Literally.
You just totally same environment, totally different response, right? And that's, if we can just tap into that and say, hey, if I can make my response, this is not going to kill me. Nobody's dying here today. The sales platform that I was using isn't going to work anymore. I need to shift. That might be the best thing that ever happened to your company, because you now go from like maybe a pay-per-click lead generation strategy to a referral-based lead gen strategy, and your profitability per deal goes through the roof. You just don't know until you try it out. And so, it's just maintaining that level of composure, and just understanding that this is what life is made up of, is these moments of opportunity for us to decide, who we're going to be in this moment, and then carry that forward.
Man, so much good stuff. I want to make sure we get through all this. What books are you reading right now, man? I know you're an avid reader. I sometimes try to keep up with you. I'm always asking you, what books are you reading right now that are needle movers for you?
So, couple, The Advantage, Pat Lencioni. This is my latest one. I actually have already read this twice, and I'm going back through it. Fix This Next, Mike Michalowicz. So Mike wrote, he was best known probably for Profit First or Clockwork or, the Pumpkin Plan, all amazing books. He is one of the, if not the leading expert on entrepreneurs today, like what their challenges are, and being a voice and an advocate and a resource for them. That book just launched. If you guys don't have it, reach out and get it. It is just full of amazing strategies, and like, this is exactly what you need to know to define your problem. And one of the premises of the book is, and this comes up a lot in coaching. Well, what do I fix if I don't know what to start with? Like,
and isn't that the problem? Most people don't even know what the real problem is, right?
Yeah. And so it's like, well, I got 57 different things wrong with my car. Which one do I need to fix first in order to get from point A to point B? So it just is an incredible diagnostic tool to step into. Read the book. They've even got an online assessment, at fixthisnext.com, where you can go like plug in information about your business and here's the vital need. Here's the first next thing that you need to work on in your business. And here's an activity and a plan to get on there. So I love books like that are super tactical and practical. I also love, Stoic type books, Marcus Aurelius type stuff. And those ones kind of counterbalance it and bring me back to the world of, just be present in your life and be a good human. And, the rest of it is just details. So I read a balance of different things. Almost every day I'll read something from Tim Farris in either Tribe of Mentors or Tools of Titans, because there are just so many great, just one chapter nuggets from somebody that's been 40 years honing their craft and mastering that. And then it's distilled into a, say, 90-minute podcast. And that's distilled into 2 or 3 page chapter with just that essence, which is, for me, just kind of invigorating and like breathe some new insight into my life that I can almost always find application for that.
Again, it's that concept of distilling decades into, in this case, minutes, a couple minutes that it takes you to read a page or 2 pages of one of those short chapters. I see so many authors doing that now. I love that concept, in a book where they'll give you just kind of those short nuggets, those short little chapters. You can read them in 5 or 10 minutes. But, in a space where we talk so much about the importance of mentorship and getting yourself around people that have had the success that you're looking for, that have done what you're doing at a much higher level, that have achieved the same things that you're going for at a much higher level. We're not all fortunate enough to be able to get in the same room with some of those people, but you can do that virtually through books, through their podcasts, through videos on YouTube. I start every morning. Part of my morning routine is, to read a couple chapters of a book. And then I immediately go on YouTube and turn on Impact Theory with Tom Bilyeu, or, any of these different channels that I subscribe to, where they're bringing on guests who are the top in their field across many industries that can just give you valuable little nuggets that you can implement immediately to help you move the needle, get closer to reaching that goal or that big dream. I just think that's so important, man. It's such a huge piece of kind of that personal development arm that a lot of people aren't taking advantage of. And especially in this digital virtual world we live in, where you can literally get access to the top people in every industry.
Yeah, there's no excuse anymore for I just didn't know.
Right.
You just didn't care enough to, stop watching that Netflix show after the third episode and turn on a good podcast, right?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
and I'm not bashing Netflix watchers. We every once in a while watch a Netflix show, and that's great. But it's when people use "I don't know," "I don't have," as an excuse when they're talking about, well, it's somebody else's fault that I'm not successful right
Yep.
now.
We
Categorically
talked
not true.
I talked about that. I've been very transparent, in years after I retired from football, when I was really struggling, I was using that excuse so often that, well, I just don't have the resources, whatever I was looking to do. It was, well, I don't have all of the resources. I don't have a team to help me do this. I don't have these people on standby. And you've heard me say that really the only thing I lacked was resourcefulness, right?
Mm-hmm.
That resourcefulness is the greatest human resource. If you think about, if you want something bad enough, if you're passionate enough about something, you think you can convince somebody to help you? You think you can, if you're
Yes.
creative enough, you can find the money that you need? If you're determined enough, you can find somebody that can lead you to the person that can help you. That's the essence of resourcefulness. And I think that is the greatest human resource.
And that's why when you said obsessed for the Latin with be a pro, when
Yes.
you said obsessed, it just made my heart say yes, yes, hell yes. Because when you have that level of commitment to something and that level of passion for something, stuff falls into place.
Yes, it
Like
does.
it just the universe starts to conspire in your favor, and the dominoes line up and things just start to happen. And when we sit back in our easy chair and say, I don't have this, I don't have that, it's not even a lack of, it's not a lack of resources. It's a lack of resourcefulness. But at the end of the day, you're not being resourceful because you really just don't give a crap enough
That's it.
about
That's
getting
it.
what you say you want.
That's it. Well, and again, the more you study high performers, high achievers, the most successful people at the top of every industry, the people that are really making a huge impact, they will all speak about a level of obsession that they have or had around what it is that they're doing. Those are the people that lay people look at and they'll say, man, that guy is crazy. There's something just a
Ah,
little bit off about this guy. And I can remember there was periods of time where some of my friends and people would say that about me, like, dude, you are nuts. Like, what? You're working out 3 times a day. You're not going to the NFL. You're too small. You're too slow. What are you wasting your time for? But I had that little level of just obsession where I didn't even care. Of course I wanted to reach the goal, but that wasn't what it was about. I loved doing the act so much. I loved the process so much. I was completely obsessed with the small details. I just went out yesterday onto my old high school football practice field here in Lewiston, Idaho. I'm in my hometown, and all of my nephews play football. They're all great athletes. And I was out there running routes and doing things with them. And I started to feel that feeling kind of welling up in me where I was like, I was running routes and it wasn't perfect. And I was like, God damn it. I started to get that old obsession back. Like, nope, I got to do it again. It's got to be right. I know how it feels when it's right. And I started feeling that switch, that little obsessive switch start to turn back on. And I was like, wait a minute, man, I'm 42 years old. If I push it as hard as my head wants to, my body is going to hate me later. I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and barely be able to walk to the bathroom, so, but I could feel it still.
yeah.
And what's important for me right now, and you've talked about this, and important for other people that are, as I've said before, looking for that next mountain to climb or transitioning, is that you find that passion and that obsession again for whatever the new thing is. And that can be hard. I struggled at that, but if you're going to be great at anything, the big picture, the big point is, if you're going to be great at anything, you've got to find that obsession about it, because that's what separates the best from everybody else. That's what separates Pro Bowlers from guys like me that just played, is that obsessive nature that forces you almost to do all the little things that other people aren't willing to do.
That's where I think if you're watching this either live or later, and you feel like you're just going through the motions, like I'm just showing up, I'm doing the thing, I'm making a good living or not, and I'm just you kind of stuck in my routine. My challenge to you would be, consider, are you or can you be obsessed, and what would that look like with what you're doing now? There may be just a small tweak to what it is that would allow you to tap into that level of commitment and discipline and just passion for what you're doing. And if you can't, if there's just no way, maybe you need to switch it up.
Yep.
Maybe there's something else out there for you, because we get this go around one time. I mean, I'm not trying to judge anybody's religious beliefs or whatever. And I mean, I'm just saying personally, my own belief is that we get one shot at this. Why spend it? Why spend it on something that you're just not in love with, that you're not passionate about, that you're not committed to? If you get home from at the end of every day, and I'm not talking about one day, because we all have those days,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But if you get home at the end of every day thinking, man, thank God I'm not doing that, anymore. Thank God it's 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock or whatever. Maybe that's a sign. Maybe what if there was something bigger? What if there was something better? What if there was something that was more engaging for you? And if there is, reach out, shoot a message, shoot something to Jimmy, shoot something to me. Let's have a conversation. I love those kind of conversations where we just unpack and discover some things for people. That's one of my favorite things to do.
Well, and that's one of the things you're great at, because again, that was, one of the first things that happened with you and I when we met in person in Utah was we had some conversations around all the things that I wanted to do, all the different directions I could go, the different programs and ideas that I had. And you looked me in the face, you said, what do you really want to do? What is it that really lights you up? I know you can do multiple different things. And that's what I'd been doing for a number of years. I call it being a dabbler. I was good in a lot of different areas and I dabbled in a lot of things, and they would fill me up in the moment. I'd do this and be like, yeah, I'm pretty good at that. I like doing that. That's cool. A couple of weeks or a month later, I'm like, doesn't really light me up. And that was one of the first things you did, is you said, what do you really want to do? And as soon as I was able to identify that and articulate it, then the next thing you said was, all right, let's go. Are you ready? Then let's do it. And we did. We just kind of hit the ground running and took off. But it all starts with that clarity. And that's one of the first things we talk about. The P in Be a Pro, Be Prepared. The first little subset under that is clarity of objective outcome. You have to know what it is that you're going to, for lack of a better term, if you're going to work hard, bust your ass, go all in, be obsessed about something, you have to know what that is first. It has to start with that clarity, that clearly defined objective, before you can start devoting all of your time, love, energy, passion, resources, and all of those things into. And so again, for anybody watching, like if that's the point where you're at, where what you're doing is not what you ultimately want to do, it's not what you're supposed to be doing, it's not what you feel called to do. People ask me that all the time. Well, how do I find that? It starts with getting that clarity, really, really digging deep and looking deep within yourself and asking yourself, what do I want to do? The old, if money was no object, if it didn't matter, what would I do for free, for fun? And don't have any real bias about what the answer is. Because a lot of times people will get the answer, they say it right out, and then they immediately think, well, that's not, I couldn't do that. That's impossible. That doesn't really work for me. They start talking themselves out of it through that negative self-talk.
Yeah.
Don't put any qualifications on what that answer is. Just whatever it is, whatever it comes up, know that that's what your subconscious mind offered up. That's what it truly is. And then, like Isaac said, hey, call one of us, DM one of us, and we can help walk you through that process.
And it looked like Jasmine had a question. So she wanted to know, I'll just read it off.
Yeah.
So Jasmine wanted to know, she said, a lot of people see the finish line, but don't look at what it takes to get there. Very true. They want the outcome, but they don't
Yep.
measure the
Absolutely.
work, right?
Absolutely.
It's like, I think I want to lose 20 pounds, but I don't really want to change how I eat or how I
That's
exercise. I
it.
just want it to happen.
Yep.
Um, do you have a personal outline that you follow to keep yourself on track, or how do you stay on course and stay away from shortcuts? I mean, we can both talk on this. I would
Yeah.
say thank you for the question so much, Jasmine. And first of all, part of this goes back to the finish. Is it the finish line that you really want, or is it just a finish line? You know, because there's a difference between setting an objective because you think it's a good objective, or because somebody else wanted you to do it, or you think
Yep.
society thinks that's a good objective, versus something that you're personally passionate about achieving. And so, one is, I would say, measure and make sure, just do a little self assessment. Is this something that I really am passionate about achieving, and why? What is the results? An exercise that I do with my coaching clients. In fact, I just did it maybe an hour ago with someone. Is I said, I want you to write down, don't just write down what you want from this. You have to write down why. What
That's it.
difference is it going to make in your world? Because that's where it actually connects with the emotion part of your being that's going to cause decisions to happen in the moment when you don't feel like it. I know I don't personally have the discipline to just decide to do something and then always stay 100% in integrity with doing it. I need to connect with the emotional side of, why is it important? What is it going to do for my kids? What is it going to do for my business, or the people that I work with, or my customers? Or, I'd say connect with that emotional side of it. But then, as far as an outline goes, there are some really great outlines out there. The 12-week year is a fantastic outline. In
Yes.
fact, if you'll message us, we'll send you some examples of some outlines that you can use for setting a future goal, and then working backwards into, like, what am I needing to do right now, or on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, to achieve that objective and keep a focus on that. Because very often the day-to-day comes up and we just get distracted by the in the moment stuff, and we forget about the longer term stuff, and then it just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed, and it never happens. So we are more than happy to send you something. And then, how do you stay on course and stay away from shortcuts? You just got to want it. I mean, it has to be something that you are emotionally invested in. You have to remind yourself on a regular basis. I use 3x5 cards a lot. Like, I'll write down, here's what I want and why. In fact, in my wallet, thought I had it here. But in my wallet, I could pull out and I could show you a 3x5 card that I wrote probably 10 years ago about what I wanted from my business. And it was to be surrounded 360 degrees by amazing leaders who inspire me and challenge me and make me excited about what I'm doing. And I do the same for them. And that's what I'm living right now. Like, I actually manifested that I looked at that card all the time, and I still carry it around with me. So
I think everything you said is spot on. And Jasmine, I think you were on the live stream on Tuesday when I talked about my concept of life goals, and that E was emotional, was that why component. It's just what Isaac said. When the why is big enough, when you finally identify that true reason why you want what it is that you're going for, then that is the number one kind of motivator that will keep you on track. And then the second thing, which you guys have heard me say 100 times, is once you make that decision, there are going to be days you don't want to do it. There's going to be days you want to take the shortcut. I'm on vacation right now with my family, and my family loves dessert. So there is ice cream and cheesecake and God knows what. At every meal, there's bean and cheese dip. I mean, you name it, right? We eat well over here. And there's multiple times where I want to take a bite of that cheesecake or eat one of those cookies. But where I'm at right now in kind of my journey, which I've talked with you guys about a little bit, I just made the decision that I'm not going to negotiate with myself. There is no, well, let me eat this and then I'll just go work out harder tomorrow. I just made the decision that this is what I want to do, regardless of how I feel, even though I really want that cookie or I want to take that shortcut, that I do what I'm supposed to do, regardless of how I feel, and I don't negotiate with myself. And that's difficult for a lot of people because they want some magic bullet. They want some fairy dust that you can just sprinkle on something. But the reality is that it's a mindset. And when you commit to something, you just have to do it. And I know you know that. You've been on a number of on my posts and my live streams. And I know you know that. And it really just comes down to that, for everybody else listening that's looking, kind of along those same lines. Like, it just comes down to making a decision and going for it. And like Isaac said, finding that deep rooted why, that emotional why that you're doing it. And ultimately, I just truly believe once you find that, anything is possible. That's the emotional internal motivators. Those are the things that are going to push you further than you ever thought you could go. That's the stuff that when your body is saying no, those emotions are saying push forward. That's what really makes it happen, right? I mean, that's ultimately what gets you from something that looks impossible to making it happen and making it a reality in your life.
Yeah, impossible is nothing. BS.
That's right.
There's no such thing. It's
I
just happening.
I always ask that question when people say, "Man, that's impossible." The question is it really impossible, or is it only impossible for you? Because somebody else can do it. Somebody else usually has done it. The 4-minute mile was impossible forever, right? Until Roger Bannister did it, and then 30 guys immediately in the next couple of months after him did it right after. Soon as that was broken, as soon as people realized it was possible, it became easy. So that's the question. Is it really impossible, or is it only impossible for you? I ask myself that every day when I think about some of the heights that I want to go to, and some of the, the people that I want to reach, and the size and scope of the impact that I want to make. You look at that whole picture, sometimes that can be daunting, and you're like, I don't think that can happen. And then I just say, well, am I the only guy that couldn't make that happen, or could somebody else make it happen? And if the answer is yes, somebody else could, then I know that I could do it too.
And that initial feeling of like, man, that feels impossible. That's actually a good sign.
Yes.
That is a sign that you're dreaming along the right road, and that it's something, because you should get butterflies when you think about what you're committed to. Boy, you should be like, huh.
If your
Man,
dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough, right?
yeah.
And if it's something that you've already done, or something that you think you could do, it's not really a goal. It's not really a dream. For me to sit here and say like, hey man, I got this huge goal right now to lose 5 pounds or to gain 5 pounds. I know I could do that. That's not really a goal. That's not really a dream. It's the things that scare us that you're like, man, I don't even know what that would look like or what that would take. Those are the things that are, those true goals and dreams, those things that we should be going after. If it scares you, if it's something that you know that you want, but it looks impossible, sounds impossible, and scares you, those are the things you should really be investing your time in.
And very often you just need to calculate the sacrifice. You need to say, well, would it still be impossible what do I need to stack on this side? If I stop watching Netflix, I know I'm picking on Netflix. They're doing all right. It's fine. They're not going to go out of business because this last year.
No.
What if I stopped doing that? What if I started waking up an hour early and just really dialing in my morning routine? What if I stopped making excuses and cut out all the time wasters and all the things that were irrelevant, not important? And what if I had a singular focus on lining up the right dominoes, creating the right environment, becoming the right what if I just lined everything up in a singular way with one objective?
Yes.
Is it still impossible? Because that's what being obsessed looks like. That's that thing. It is weird. People say, well, I don't want it. That would be really unusual. That would be unrealistic. Well, yes, that is what makes it a huge dream. That is what makes it exceptional. You can't, like, exceptional and normal don't coexist in the same space. So in order to have what is exceptional, you have to sacrifice what is perceived as normal.
Yes. I love that, man. That's a great place. That is a great place to end. Isaac, it's been amazing having you on, man. I appreciate you. I know a lot of people in my close inner circle have been hearing about this guy, Isaac. They hear me say your name multiple times every day. And so I'm glad that all of my crew, my inner circle, and my bigger following has now been exposed to you and how amazing you are, and the impact you've made on me. And I know all of your coaching clients, and soon, man, the impact that together we're going to make on the world. And we're just going to keep pushing, and we're going to keep challenging you guys every single day to be a pro. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be live again next week. I've got some amazing guests for you. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Stay safe over this 4th of July holiday. Be your best, man, and be a pro. Take care, guys. Thank you.